Rachelle Jones
connected to J Disc.
pushing the wrong buttons, of course, because that is just the way.
It's just my way. Well, Rachelle Jones Lunch Live. Hi there. Thanks for joining. Oh my gosh, thanks for joining, guys. That's so great. I'm glad to have you here for today's Wisdom on Wednesdays webinar. That we're getting quicker. All right, so today is obviously Wednesday, and I have so many different topics, that I'm going to bring to you on Wednesdays. You're always, hi, thanks for being here. And you're always able to share your thoughts and wonders for, what you'd like to have on one of these webinars. If you have questions or just something that you'd like me to expand upon or different things. Today, though, I'm coming to you distracted, to be honest. I mean, I'm human and I'm coming to you distracted. And here's why. So for the last 3 years, all the things have been happening, right? COVID and all the things have been happening. But for me, this thing that's also been going on is just being the mother, the main stay-at-home parent for raising my teen. And it has been so very painful for me, painful. So today, we're changing narratives. And I think a lot of times my go-to for most of my life was grieving alone. This piece of information that I just learned through various ways of holding my grief, my emotional energy to myself, keeping it on the inside and not being honest about it. And that was kind of my main go-to. And so today, I just want to open up that a little bit and decide, or maybe have you reconsider and investigate if that's something that you hold on to too, that I need to hold it together. I need to keep my heartache to myself. People don't want to hear that. Maybe they don't. So you'll find the people very easily who don't. They won't know how to respond. They'll just kind of leave the moment. So here in my family, I'm so unsettled today, having this really hard time with my son. So what has been happening has been so much, it's not even about all the details, but the thing is, it has left my heart in turmoil. And as parents, I don't know that we are so much allowed to say that, "Ow, this job really hurts." And it's a job that hurts. For me, I haven't really liked it for the last 3 years. It's just been very painful. And as though I'm watching my kid, just because he's just been becoming someone I don't recognize. And well, I don't grieve alone. I don't believe in it anymore. I do my grief work regularly. And I don't know that we understand. It's important to understand grief. Grief is the emotions that build up inside of us because of change. Wouldn't our growing children represent change? I mean, that just makes sense, right? And so what we are, thank you. So what we are learning is that emotions, for one, are completely normal and natural. The way you feel is normal and natural. There's nothing wrong with it. But what can be difficult is hanging on to the emotion, thinking that we're not allowed to acknowledge it. We're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to somehow do something to feel better. Of course, I can't stop my child growing. I can't stop the changes that I'm observing. I can do a lot, and I can try a lot of things and change a lot of things on my end. But I honestly can't get into another person and change them, right? And so whatever it is all the different ways he's changing, some of them are really hurtful to me, and they include some of the ways he talks to me and treats me, and just really terrible. So we as parents, though, we are not just stuck to endure these things. We can't necessarily leave, and maybe this happened to you. Maybe that's a source of grief for you. Because that does happen where parents just leave. My biological father, the reason I found this method, he was not in my life. He was not around. So that does happen for sure. But I'm talking about when you're at home and you're raising your kids and you're doing what you can do, right? it's not going well. Well, for one, we have to be emotionally honest. Al, this really hurts. Always emotional honesty. Al, this really hurts. And it's not just something to be endured quietly, to appear to have it all together. We have to be emotionally honest, not only with ourselves that this is hurting, but we have to start changing the narratives with our children as well. They're changing, so we have to speak to them differently. And we can actually be doing this when they're young too. In fact, I recommend it. Being emotionally honest. Ouch, that hurts my feelings. I feel unimportant when, when you respond that way. It really leaves me feeling worthless. Um, Gosh, I could see that when I am, you know, doing what I think would be helpful, it's really getting at you, it's bothering you. How can I make that a little different? Or gosh, do you have any idea? Just being honest in these moments where I notice they're going sour and I know they're going yucky. Do you know how to be honest with your kids? Because guess what? Those kids do hurt us sometimes. And it's not for us to put our burdens on them as far as you have to change to make me feel better. But we do, number one, have to be emotionally honest. I feel unloved when you respond in that way. Does it have to be so harsh and mean? Is there something bothering you? Something going on that you'd like to let me know about? You don't have to let me know, but I do need you to know that I feel unloved. I feel unwanted. I feel worthless when you respond in that type of way. And so this has been difficult for me. This leading through work and having things prepared the last couple of years, I have really struggled because I'm going through this emotional stuff here and I'm not good at hiding it. So what do I do? How do I get in the moment? This is where I actually use my grief recovery method tools on my relationship with my son. He doesn't know per se. It's not like I have to now go do grief work on you, but that's how I keep from hating him at this moment. He is a person who I don't like at this time. His behavior is really hard to cope with. It's really hard to deal with. And do I just bury that and go on like I did nothing, waiting for time to one day magically fix it? No, time doesn't fix our emotions. We just become more used to the weight of carrying them. Sort of like if I started wearing a 30-pound weighted jacket right now, it would be so enormously painful. And if I just continued carrying it until, for the next 10 years, I'd be more used to that weight, right? But the weight is still there. And I do have the option to take off that weighted jacket. But if no one tells me that I'm allowed, then I may not know. So I use this grief recovery method on all my relationships, even the ones who are alive with me. And that's how I get back in the moment, because having to move my office here at home has been so difficult. I might have some kind of painful, terrible interaction and then have to immediately come in and start up a class. How does that work? Well, I do my grief recovery tools regularly, all the time. Sometimes I usually have physical appointments with people for myself, but also I can use my tools quickly as I'm running up the stairs into my office to get in. The first thing is to just be honest with myself. Ouch, this is really hurting. This has potential to pull me out of the moment. And then that's not good for you. I can't keep safety in that way. So not only being honest with myself, but then taking action and knowing what action to take in the moment. And so in the grief recovery method, part of the tools and actions are yes, awareness and acceptance that, hey, this is not going to go anywhere, and just waiting for time to pass is not going to work. Avoiding the myths of, hey, hi, thanks for joining. The myths of, well, just don't feel it. The myths of that silver lining kind of talk, replacing the pain with the silver lining talk, the feel good stuff. Well, he doesn't know any better. Well, he's still growing. Well, this is normal for teens. Well, they all go through it. Well, you'll get through this one day. I probably will. But I also want to fight and cry and all of these things in the meantime. And I don't necessarily get to just fight. I do cry. So avoiding replace the loss with that silver lining, dismissive type of talk. It's not true, correct, or helpful. Grieving alone, again, burying that stuff in. I can't grieve alone. I have to be honest that, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And grief recovery method is more than just being honest with how we're feeling. I have plenty of people who will be honest with me about how they're feeling, but that's not action. That doesn't remove the weighted jacket. So we will talk so much about this, so much about this. In fact, maybe that's what I should talk about next week is forgiveness. How many of you would love to punch me in the face when you think of something really, really, really painful where someone has wronged you intensely? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to take a forgiveness action. That's because we have been mistaught what forgiveness means. I think we should probably talk about that next week. I'll write it down. I'll pay attention and go on that next week. But we have a series of very specific types of statements, and they're going to fall in very specific categories. I have to show you how to find those, because without them, that's not recovery. So just saying, ouch, this hurts is not recovery. That's just being emotionally honest about, ouch, what's hurting me, about whatever trauma, I guess you can use that word, of what I've experienced. So there's a series of categories that we need to learn what they mean. In fact, that's what I'll do. I'll do the next few weeks on those. Apologies, sorting through and finding the parts that are hurting me in a very specific way of things that I have caused. Did I have expectations that I didn't express or communicate, or that didn't fit him or didn't fit the situation? That's very often the case as we're raising teens. I have expectations because they look like adults, and we've talked about this and learned this so many times, but did I really understand or take the time to ensure that they understood what my expectations were, what my hopes were? And just because I have a hope doesn't mean they're going to meet it. Probably not. So then I have to do some work on what my hopes were, what my expectations were, what my dreams and ideas were for what my kid is going through. So that's a part of the work. That's a part of taking off some of that weight from the vest. That's where the weight is coming from, is looking through my part and having to sort through and find those pieces. And it can be very difficult. That's why we do it with a specialist. And then I go through and find the things that he's responsible for. Ouch, that hurt me. Now, forgiveness, this is very quick. I'm not going to talk about it right now. I'm going to go through it deeper on a different day. But forgiveness is saying, ow, they hurt me. I've got a wound. I've got a knife or a shard of glass or something that they caused. They lodged it there. I'm the one being affected, right? So forgiveness is a very specific tool we use to look at our own heart, to pull that lodged pain out, that shard of glass, that knife, that dagger, whatever it is. Forgiveness is the tool we use to remove the dagger that's sticking into our own heart. Yes, they caused it, but we can wait for days, and they're not going to necessarily, speaking of a teenager, they're not necessarily going to change their behavior. Oh, crumbs. I had an alarm go off. Hold on, y'all. I forgot to do the do not disturb thing. Sorry. So the forgiveness is the tool we use to look at our heart and find where the daggers are that they caused, and removing them on ourselves, because we are the ones being affected. We are the ones being hurt. We are the ones carrying the weight of that pain. We are the ones carrying that weighted jacket, basically. So forgiveness is a tool we use for ourselves so we can feel better. It has nothing to do with the other person. And I know that you thought it did. I know you thought it meant that you were giving them a free pass, that you thought forgiveness meant that you were taking them off the hook, that you were telling them it's not a big deal, that you were almost condoning or minimizing what they did. And it's none of those things. Forgiveness is a very specific tool that we use to remove the pain in our own heart, because as long as we're waiting for them to change their behavior, to change their attitudes, to change their actions, we will continue hurting. We can't wait on other people to feel better, right? So very specific stuff here. And yes, we have to use it on our living relationships. So grief recovery method is not just for death, it's for change. And what change has brought you pain? Right now, watching what my kid has been going through for the last few years, and he's almost unreachable by me at this time. The last few years, he's been almost unreachable. That's why we use the grief recovery method, because I can't get in him and turn the gears and things just in such a way that he will line up in a way I wish he would. And that's enormously painful. So we use the grief recovery method. because I don't know about you, but this raising kids thing has been very, very, very painful for me as well. One specifically at this moment has gotten older and older and older. Our relationship has changed. Everything about this has changed. Do you know how to cope with change? Do you just carry bitterness? Do you carry resentment? Do you carry hardship? Do you carry the yeah, but? Do you carry all the pain that they've caused you and you're waiting for them to change their behavior? You may be waiting for decades. You may be waiting for a lifetime. And does that mean you should live in such pain and turmoil for your lifetime? No. Use a grief recovery method for that. So get honest with yourself, get honest with someone else, but then consider also taking action on what's feeling yucky for you. Doing very specific and precise actions, and I'll teach you what that looks like, because it's not easy and it's a whole lot more than just simply admitting, ouch, this hurts. Okay. So get with a specialist, sort of like if I broke my arm. It's a little bit more than saying, ouch, this hurts. I'm gonna have to go to a specialist who knows how to reset that bone and get it to stay in place, stabilized and cast properly. And then a physical therapist maybe to build those muscles back up. We go to specialists for other parts of our body. We need to go to a specialist for our heart, and that's where your grief recovery method specialist will come in. So you can go to grief.net or griefrecoverymethod.com, or even visit me, and I will get you on the path to learning exactly step by step, all 16 of them, how to recover. All right. I love you. Thanks for being here. Thank you for just your heart to learn new things and maybe change narratives, that it's a little bit more than grieving alone, because that doesn't work. And it's a little bit more than simply saying out loud, this hurts. That's a start. Acknowledging it for yourself, sharing that with someone else, how you're actually feeling, is a start. It's just not full recovery. It's not removing the metal jacket. And I want to teach you how to do that, or the weighted jacket. Okay. All right, y'all. I love you. Thanks for being here. Happy Wednesday. I hope you found the nugget that could serve you well in this week, or at least gets your wheels turning and considering new things. All right, y'all. I love you. Change your narratives. Okay, bye.